Carl, what would you say the difference is between those loan officers who are truly successful and then the ones that, just get by?
So I find, that's a great question. I find it's primarily three things that set the top producers off from those that doing okay, but never can quite figure out why they can't go to the next level. Primary three things. Number one, those that are really successful, they know what their number one activity is. In other words, which is a really easy thing to do. All you got to do is look at, say, your last 10 loans that came in. What's the one thing they have in common as far as like how you took their application, or how they came to hook up with you in the first place? Like when they called your office or emailed you or texted you or messaged you on Facebook, what was that thing that got them to do that in the first place on your last 10 loans? And you're going to find very likely that 8 out of the 10 all came in one particular way, right? And what was the activity that immediately preceded them connecting with you? What was that activity? For many, it'll be something like a realtor referral. And so they would go, all right, well, my number one activity is doing that activity that got that real estate agent or that attorney or that closing agent or that financial planner to refer to me. What did I do to make that happen? So top loan officers definitely know their number one activity, and they do that number one activity more often and everything else less often. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I find that the top producers do is they just do what's necessary, right? They do what's necessary. They don't quit. There's an old football movie where I think it's Al Pacino goes in this dialogue that, they crawl inch by inch, if that's how the game is won. And just doing what's necessary, just doing whatever it takes, doing, legal, ethical, and moral, obviously, but doing what's necessary to happen. And the third thing kind of falls into that, I guess, is feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. I can't overemphasize that. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And look, we all know what to do, right? We all know those things that make top producers: calling their past database, calling referral partners, maybe teaching classes. Like we all know to do these things. It's just fear holds us back. And I think a lot of times we sit and think, soon as I feel confident, then I'm going to go do this activity. And that's a mistake. Confidence only happens after you do something. It doesn't come before. A friend of mine used to be a paratrooper, jumped out of airplanes for the Army. And I asked him one time, I said, how do you have the courage to jump out? How do you have the confidence that chute's going to open? He says, I only have the confidence after I jump out and the chute opens. That's when I get my confidence. And so feel the fear and do it anyway. You have to be, Steve Jobs said this one time, you have to be willing to crash and burn. And if you're not willing to crash and burn from time to time, you're not going to get very far. And the crashes and burns aren't that severe, right? They're not that severe. So number one, know what your number one activity is. Number two, do what's necessary. And number three, feel the fear and do it anyway. Push through it anyway. There's a couple others maybe I'll do in a follow-up video, but that's the three I'd recommend first. Now, if you're curious about what that number one activity is for the highest of the high producers, I'll be happy to show you that. The good news is it doesn't cost anything, right? It's not about buying another widget. I promise you that. I promise you, it's not buying another widget or shiny whistle, as we all call it, and we've all been guilty of that. But yeah, if you wanna see what the highest of the top producers do, there's a button somewhere on this page. Click the button and we'll schedule a call free of charge, and we'll map it through it. We'll find out what are you doing, and then we'll take what you're doing, put little tweaks to it, add in what the top producers are doing. It can be stratospheric. So click the button and we'll talk you through it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Click the button.